You want to talk politics in the end?
You can end your podcast on politics.
No, not really. I mean, as you walk in, there is that magazine cover you've done in 2016.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so
Please.
yeah. So I've been very fortunate. Been in a lot of magazines and TV and stuff.
We will
and
take a picture.
yeah. So that cover, the same photographer and art director, they had done a 4-page layout in that magazine with me the previous year because I do Santa Claus. So it was like Santa Claus Barber. And we just had a blast. I popped out the wet bar. We started having drinks and had a great photo shoot and a great time. So they were doing issue just before the election in 2016, and they wanted to interview Americans who were voting every different way. And like I said, people come to me because they know I'm here and that I do some stuff, so it's easy to interview with me. And so my thing was actually from what the cover looks like and for what the article is, if you see the article, even though it's in Czech, everybody that they interviewed, me, it was just me here. The other people weren't interviewed here. They gave you a piece of poster board and a marker. You could write whatever you want. And mine was something like, in English, obviously. They're all full of shit, basically. Get rid of them all and start over again. And I didn't think of Trump one way or the other before. I figured like a lot of guys, it's successful businessman, but like a lot of people, any of that level, a bit of a, arrogant or whatever. But I didn't really know much about him, and nor did I care so much. And I didn't even vote in that election. So after we did the article, and since we had so much fun doing that previous shoot, they're like, we need something for the cover. And so this thing just kind of evolved, and they're like, if you got something American, and as I showed you, I pulled out that Colt Peacemaker. Now, I don't have my gun permit here yet, so this is just like a Colt Peacemaker, and each individual bullet actually shoots BBs. So it is legal. I will get my gun permit, though. So anyway, I pulled this out. And I was like, this is pretty American, the classic cowboy pistol and stuff. And then they're like, have you got an American flag? I'm like, no, but there's an Army surplus just at the end of the block at that time. So they go and get the flag. And the guy's like, hey, can you drape it over your shoulder or like a toga? I'm like, well, toga? Shit, that's like the Statue of Liberty. And we're all like, ooh, Statue of Liberty, So then I was like, okay, she's holding, what am I going to hold, a light? Or the guy's like, gun. And then they're like, I'm like, well, she's holding a book also. And then I'm like, oh, Bible. And they're like, you've got a Bible. I'm like, yes, I've got a Bible. So then, doing it, I'm like, we'll see where this goes, but this could be like, I could look like this is a complete horse's ass, or maybe we pull it off. But shit, I got a chance for a magazine cover, so yeah, let's roll the dice. And it's become like an iconic image. That's brought me a lot of business. A producer for Czech TV saw it. Czech TV did a documentary on me because they saw that cover and stuff. But I'm like, it's either going to pull this off or not. But that's brought me a lot of attention, that thing. But I also tell people when you get into politics, because a lot of people don't like Trump or they don't like the conservative viewpoint, And actually, over the years, I became a bit of a fan of Trump, and because I've done a lot of research on child trafficking and stuff. And he was the only one fighting that shit.
You mean the Alex Jones QAnon thing?
No, this wasn't even QAnon. Because I started following this back when Bill Clinton was in office.
Really?
Because the Surgeon General of the U.S., said she didn't think it was that big a deal. It was still just love between two people. And I was like, did I just freaking hear that right? And then you started hearing this a lot of places in governments and stuff and different things. There's much more extensive. I'm not going to get into all that here, but it's much more extensive than people realize. And it ain't freaking conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Parts of it may be, and there's lots of mistruths, but no, lots of organized shit. So anyway, that's why I'm like, hey, if somebody's fighting that crap, awesome, So again, people like him, not, I don't even follow that stuff much anymore. Yeah. So anyway, some of them would give me, not too much. People, oh, he's Trump. I'm like, well, obviously you didn't look at the article. I said, so like most people, you're forming an opinion on a soundbite, or a headline that you don't know anything about. I said, I didn't tell them to put that cover on there. I mean, the thing about the American and Trumpa, thing. Yeah. I said, now, I don't have a problem with it. And it wasn't like some, dark thing they were doing. But with that image, obviously it fit.
Mm-hmm. No, the cover is great.
Now, if they'd have put Hillary on there, I'd have been pissed probably. But, I didn't really care about it one way or the other, but I saw it. I'm like, okay, it is what it is, and it fits the image and stuff. And but I tell people, I'm like, no, if you looked at, you don't even have to read it, Czech. I mean, you can read English. All you got to do, if you would have looked in the article at all, beyond the cover, beyond the surface, you would see that I said they're all full of shit. So, but I think that's like most of life. Most people are forming their opinion on sound bites. They're regurgitating sound bites. It's just like we're overfed and undernourished. It's the same thing with information. You only have so much time to research. And again, are you just taking in the main narrative and not at least looking at other things? So I spent a lot of my time, and that's been one of the things with this last year too. I've had a lot more time to do a lot more research. And with what I do for a living over the years, everything from intelligence agencies, agents for clients. One was an NSA bureau chief, others physicists or politicians or cops or mob bosses that I know. And when you can start getting the same story from different people on things,
right.
I'm like, hey, you can write whatever the hell you want to write, but I'm getting enough of this that I'm going to go with what I think. Now, maybe something will come out. I'm open to hearing other information. Maybe it'll change my mind, But anyway, that's what the cover. And but I didn't even vote in that election. But that cover helped a lot. And then I got the other cover, the Barber magazine. That again, asked for shit. So they had invited me, the same guy that puts on the Barber convention in Dusseldorf. So while we're at the hotel, the convention, we're at the bar having a drink, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to come do a article on you." So they're coming from Freiburg to do this article on me after the convention. And I said, "Yeah, I heard that you might be doing that." I'm like, "What's what I got to do to get the cover?" He's like, "What? You want the cover?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Now, not that I'm that big a narcissist." I said, "It is fun, but I'm like, that's really good for business." I said, "The other cover was a blast. That's helping a lot." I said, "But this is actually what I do." And this is one of the leading barber magazines in Europe. And they wrote me up as one of the top barbers in Europe. I'm like, I get the cover. That works really well for me. And he's like, "Well, it's my magazine. If you want the cover, you can have the cover." But now, if I wouldn't have asked for it, I wouldn't have got it. And another Czech guy that actually, his family escaped to Munich when he was a kid, and he owns the pomade shop, which is based out of Munich. So all these old school products, and Stan's a great guy, and he's an expert on that. And he's friends with these guys. So at the same time, Stan had a book that came out all on all these, really nice hardback book on all the products and all this history of this. And they probably would have given it to Stan. And I could have understood if they did, But Stan was gracious enough to not push that. And so when they came and did the article, and they were filming, we're sitting around, I'm like, okay, so when we were in Dusseldorf, I asked you, I said, now we were drinking. I said, but when I asked you, you said I could have the cover. He goes, did I? I was like, yeah, you did. I said, hey, I'm not going to push it too much, but yeah, I want it. I said, so what's my chance? He's like, 80%. I'm like, well, that's not 100%. So anyway, I'm like, okay, hopefully I get it, but I'm not going to push him too much, but I'm going to push a little bit. So then I had Joe Lynn Turner from Deep Purple and Rainbow in here, and I put their stuff all behind, when I was filming. So after that, I sent pictures like, hey, I got you some product placement here. So that at least 5% more.
5%.
So he didn't even say anything. They just sent it to me when it came out, But again, if I wouldn't have been upset if he didn't do it, and I wasn't going to push him, but in a fun way. But I wouldn't have got that cover if I wouldn't have asked and stuff. So that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, put yourself out of your comfort zone, ask for things.